Hirsch was situated on the northern side of the Dakaran Empire. The south side was threatened by the Black Wolf descendants of the Icarus Kingdom. The west was captured by the monsters and beasts of the Black Forest. The eastern side was the only region where the kingdom's people could live. The land of Hirsch followed the rules and regulations of Count Versace. The House of Versace is a powerful organization that trains swordsmen to protect the Dakaran Empire. However, it is only a matter of time before they perish. It was because of the women at the House of Versace poisoning the crown princess. Her name was Olivia de Versace. She was huge in figure and tall, and because of her appearance, criticism followed her all around. People used to call her a witch or something. She was sitting and doing her hair while smiling, looking at the mirror. She understood that she was not Olivia but Bayahan. She had to wake up from one of her favorite novels. Out of anger, she threw her hairbrush in rage because she was not able to be the male or female protagonist. She became angry due to becoming the villain again. She hated the appearance of the character as well. She hated how her face was fat and wasn't attractive in any way. She hated the extra fat on her face that looked like an extra chin to her. Her hair was totally white. She was using a double-sized bed for her comfort. Olivia was sad, so she slept on the bed due to sadness. In the previous novel, she was a detective with a slim and hot body. After years of training, she had a physique that every man used to like. She was frequently changing her novel from being 30 years old to the next day a 15-year-old girl. She was more worried about the end of this novel as in this story. Olivia will die of treason. She so hated that plot. Never wanting to end up like this, she never thought about this. Two maids at Lady Olivia's door knocked on it. They brought a meal for Olivia. They were shocked as Olivia had already eaten a lot on her bed. She knew that after 2 years she's gonna die, so she had no motivation for this story. She was enjoying herself a lot, eating, sleeping, and playing here and there. With tears in her eyes, she was having her meals. 3 months passed. She was on her bed and couldn't move because she had eaten too much. Breathing became hard for her as well. If she kept eating, she may die before the actual time. She started running and losing weight so she could eat more. Eating gave her more joy. She was breathing heavily that she felt like dying. She knew if she wanted to eat and enjoy, she had to lose weight. She was determined to keep running and was thinking that she should learn swordsmanship. But before she started learning swords, she needed to lose weight. A maid called for Daisy. Daisy was the head of all the maids. She had taken an oath to protect the house. She called her out to see how Olivia was running. Finally, she was able to lose some weight. She saw some changes in her eyes as well. She felt like her eyes definitely looked like the villain's eyes. She was ready to live her life like this. Olivia was the only villain in the entire novel. On her 16th birthday, her father and brother, who were away leading the subjugation army, finally returned. Count Gerald de Versace was totally shocked to see his daughter. She had changed a lot. Count Gerald found her the spitting image of her mother Cecilia. Her brother Kyle de Versace said she is her daughter, she will look like her. She was happy that her transformation had finally brought them joy and happiness. They sat for tea together. Her father told her that due to the development, she had to look after the Versace castle. She also had to take over the administration and management of the budget for Hirsch. She didn't understand and flinched. Her brother and father were both part of the army, and they had to take care of the problems at the border in the Black Forests. Her father gave her all the administration work, and she accepted it. She was unhappy with the decision she took. She was walking in the village of Hirsch. 2 people greeted her from behind. The soil was barren, and the weather was cold. They were not able to grow crops in that land. Potatoes were freezing before they could cultivate and harvest them. People there were ready for a colder climate. She understood that she had to do something before it was too late for the people. They were living very poor lives. Even after living like this, they were ready to pay taxes before the due date. She felt sorry for the man, but she was not in a position to feel sad for that man. After that day, she worked hard for a year. She made sure to make a report of rural areas of Hirsch, and the places where cold weather had affected much so she could tax-free them. Working hours without taking rest, a year passed away. She learned sword fighting as well. A maid warned her that royal delegations would be arriving shortly. His Grace was demanding to see Olivia in his study room immediately. The maid took her for a bath and made sure what she should wear for the royal delegation meeting. The maid showed her 2 dresses, and she chose the red one. The maid appreciated her efforts in taking part in royal meetings. Olivia felt like a baby being pampered whenever Daisy complimented her. Olivia got ready and came out. The story begins when Olivia turns 17. If the story follows through, then she demises as a candidate for the crown princess after meeting with the emperor and crown prince, and she would write an application for Somehow Academy. But she was neither going to be a candidate for the crown princess nor making an application. Because she wanted to live. She wanted to avoid the things that could make her die sooner. She came inside the room. She wanted to break through the original story. The royal delegations were there in Hirsch. She, with a smile, welcomed everyone. She wanted to know what they wanted. She was late. Her brother asked why she was late. She was fast, but somehow she got slow. She noticed some papers there on the table. It was the crown princess candidate and the academy papers. She asked if it's okay to have a look over those papers because the papers belonged to her. Her father grabbed her shoulder. By then, her brother said they cannot send Olivia to the palace. Olivia didn't understand what was going on. Maybe the palace was requesting her presence there. Her father was flattered with her abilities of guessing everything right. They were looking at her as if she was some genius. Her brother was 4 years older than her, and her father had a soft spot for his daughter. As she was reading those papers, her father told her she should apply for the crown princess in exchange for the highest grade of Oricon obtained from the monsters, as she would be a qualified candidate. She didn't want to join as it was a useless request, and she'd end up dying there. The crown prince was sickly and sneaky. Her brother and father wanted her to marry the crown prince. But Olivia already knew the story, and the crown prince already had plans with the female lead. Hammond came there. Olivia asked Hammond what he thought about her father and brother being overdramatic about all of that. Hammond was even more overdramatic as he said she was a classier lady compared to the crown prince. She looked outside the window and had a thought. She found that it was a good day outside. She didn't want to feel that second-hand embarrassment. She went through continuous changes in the past, but she did not feel so great about anything. At the dining table, everyone was eating, but Olivia was holding a paper. It was from the Imperial Palace. All those things would happen to Olivia just after the arrival of a letter. In the original story, this one letter creates the desire in the heart of Olivia for the crown prince. She knew what the letter was all about, but the letter was sugar-coated. She understood why Olivia had a wedding idea with the crown prince because of that sugar-coated letter. Even her father and brother didn't know anything about politics, focusing instead on sword fighting. Her father and brother were always thinking about fighting and how to defeat one person. They failed to teach Olivia about the politics and how to speak in front of someone. The victim was Olivia, even though she was the bad character here. She thought to do something about it. She went out of the dining room. She was determined to get everything good for Olivia. She was determined not to be a villain, at least. The three were discussing, and Olivia said the Imperial Palace should give them support this year. She was ready to offer Oricon to the Imperial Palace in exchange for money, and not to accept any tax increase demand. Her father was clueless, standing there. She said her father needs to reject the crown prince on her behalf, saying she's too young and always sick, even if they think her father is arrogant. Her brother was happy with her bold moves, but would they accept her sickness? But if they insist, maybe they'll accept, Olivia said. She also pointed out the portrait of her, which was of a fat-looking woman. She insisted on sending that portrait to the imperial family in any event. Her father told Hammond to let everyone in. Someone with glasses came inside. It was Chief Secretary Edwin. He was the one who taught her how to take over administrative work. One more came inside. He was Daisy's older brother and her brother's childhood friend. He was Daniel. She found that he kind of looked like a model. With his appearance alone, she had the clearance looks already. He was her teacher for sword fighting and her first love as well. Count Gerald had called him there. He smirked at her. She was flattered. He was the member of a family that was most loyal to Count Versace, but she was more into his looks and presence. Even though the story had so much bloodshed, Olivia would be able to dodge them, she thought. She wanted to marry Daniel. Her brother teased Daniel, saying he needed his permission to come in. She was so angry when her brother blocked her view of Daniel. Meanwhile, they told Count Versace that Sir Edward had submitted lower toll fees. Olivia ran to Daniel and grabbed his hand. Her brother had a sudden shock seeing this. He told her to take her hands off him. She had a chance to mess with her brother as well, holding hands with Daniel at the same time. Her brother got angry and told her to stop linking arms. She didn't like it when her brother yelled at her. She asked if Daniel had eaten or not. Even hearing his voice, Olivia had flowers in her heart. Yet, her brother didn't like it and was standing in anger. They sat down. Her father couldn't ignore the demands of the Imperial Palace. But according to Olivia, the Imperial family thinks this family is a doormat. They all wanted to know Olivia's plans for countermeasures. They were also ready to follow her instructions. She had no clear idea. Even if she wanted to, she couldn't get away from the business of governing the land. Also, her brother would inherit her father's title, and she was more concerned about it. As she reminded them, the imperial family praised them for the work they had done in the winter, such as eliminating the monsters and beasts and guarding the border, but they had not mentioned any promising compensation. If they kept doing it, they would inform them that the land under the protection of House Versace would be scaled down. But if they did, it would also affect other territories. Maybe a few people would start to rebel against them. Her brother was right. They could not ignore the areas where rebellion could begin. She came up with the idea that they had fought with them and also protected the border. They were not going to attack. They were just reminding them that the agreement only covered border defense. If they made the first move towards the changes, it might help the imperial palace follow them. Her father was not into opposing the imperial palace's orders. Meanwhile, Olivia's brother got enraged that if they didn't do anything, the imperial family would summon Olivia. Was he going to give up on his daughter that easily? Father was worried about his daughter as well. He was not going to give up on her. For a father, his daughter is everything, and thinking of losing her is like rat poison to him. But it was true that once Olivia arrived at the palace, other noble women mistreated her wrongly. She had to reassure herself that somehow she needed to manage and get out of that situation. She didn't say anything at that time. Versace Castle has a study hall as well for Lady Olivia. Oscar was already there. He asked Olivia why she was late for the study. He was drinking tea at the moment. She didn't say anything but went to her table. Sam asked her if she had plans to go out. Sam was her secretary. She asked for the report from Sam and told Oscar to take her to the guild. Oscar was not in the mood to take her to the guild. By that time, Daniel arrived. She was glad to see Daniel there. She wanted to survey the guild and check out the 2 newly built factories. Daniel agreed to escort her there and called her to meet him after lunch. He wanted to know if she was curious about the negotiation deal with the royal delegations. She had faith in her brother. She knew that he was able to do it without any issues because he took training for negotiation. Daniel checked his pocket and took out a candy for her. She taunted him, thinking that she was still a kid, but rather wanted flowers. She found it adorable. She made him embarrassed. She took it so he wouldn't feel bad about himself. He promised her that next time he'd be ready with flowers and candy together. She was flattered. In the La de Portia Guild, 2 years ago, there was a need for food and supplies that were provided by the guild, and so she merged and took over several minor guilds. At first, she thought she might not be able to handle it because of the financial crises. But now that they've taken over the distribution and circulation of Oricon monster byproducts, it paid well. The guild was always busy at all times. It was the biggest guild in the area on the east side. She ignored Oscar's words. Oscar is always busy, but he is always available to help. She didn't understand what he meant, but for him, Miss Daisy will definitely appreciate the words Olivia uses. She was angry and said she would buy 2 more guilds and make him work on the ground. Oscar got shut. Olivia asked for the report from Sam. They were ignoring Oscar as if he was not there. Lady Olivia and Sam were discussing the residential problem increasing due to road conditions and housing. She wanted to cover the border areas to build roads before the construction started and only after the water and sewage systems were done. She took the documents from Sam and started making a list of what should be done first, making all the calculations. She gave it back to him. She had done it all on her own. Sam was impressed with her talent. In a previous life, she was a police officer and had to do a lot of paperwork, so she was used to it. She was ready to start the work. She didn't want the lake water to get contaminated, so they hired an officer to maintain the water quality. She was worried about clean water mixing with sewage water, which could cause diseases. They had to find a way to clear things up. They came to the point where she understood that buying construction materials before starting might be more efficient. Sam and Oscar shared the approximate number of required materials. They came to the soap factory. All the fish had died and were floating in the water. It was a closed factory used as a lab and storage for animal oils. But the new factory was being built in some so people could have new jobs, at least. Daisy was the CEO of the company. It was Miss Evans' idea. She was in charge of laundry. She suggested using animal oils in soap making. As they both were talking, Olivia suggested adding a few more things to the soap. Miss Evans was able to understand and made a legendary soap. While they were in the carriage, she asked Oscar how the research was going. It was a problem. They couldn't directly and simply launch a new product. She didn't like Oscar's idea. Her meeting with Oscar was kind of fun at the start. She met him 2 years ago when she was 15 in Hirsch. When she first met him, Oscar was injured a lot on his hands and face. She thought maybe the guild's people were the ones who did this to him. He was hurt because he was not paid. He had a fight with the accounting ledger. He kept on adding that after meeting with the guild master, he fell down. She saved him. She knew if she saved him, there would be no difference in the original story. She didn't like the fight where one wins and gets money. She asked him if he wanted to join the army with her. That day, Oscar left with her to join the army. Oscar was appointed as the guild master when she took over the Maroon Guild. The project they were building was only for commoners. Oscar was standing behind her. But aristocrats were also sensitive to smells. She wanted to buy things how she used to rather than asking someone else. Sam notified her that Daniel and Daisy had arrived. As always, Olivia's love for Daniel was evident. Traveling through Cessna was not easy, so they chose to travel by horse. She gave her a shirt to change so they could proceed to leave. Cessna was the place for people where families of soldiers who died in the army lived. Those people had never gotten their proper compensation, and for their daily living, they relied on herbs and medicine. Daisy introduced Olivia to Harold. He was the factory in charge. Daniel noticed that people there were eating something. He asked why they were having it late. Harold told them it was free food for people who could not work in the factory. Daisy didn't understand why it was included in the report. She asked Harold what was going on. It was his idea. He was using the company's funds and didn't even include it in the report. She blamed him, saying that just to feed more mouths, he had lowered the quality of the food. He apologized to Daisy. Daisy wasn't angry at him but wanted him to increase the budget for extra meals and good food for people. He was happy that people would be happy to get healthier food. Olivia was touched by Daisy's kindness. They moved to the next stage. She found a spot for a clinic, but no doctor would come there to treat people with no money. Olivia said they were the families of people who died protecting the land. They should get free medical care. Oscar found her idea not genuine. She had an idea to appoint a doctor on a salary basis. Only the presence of a doctor could be more helpful to the townspeople. There were people with wounds and people with diseases. Olivia came home. She was tired as hell. She slept there for a moment. She wanted Daniel to be there with her to cheer her up. Back in time, she was angry with Daniel. He suddenly stopped teaching her sword fighting. He refused her. She wanted to know the reason. He was insecure about the rumors. Also, the border wanted more support. She was crying there. She thought maybe her clinginess and talking to him every day made him annoyed with her. He was concerned about her marriage. She was about to turn 17, and she had to choose one. He didn't want to stick around her. She wanted to marry Daniel, no one else. She thought maybe he hated her. He wiped off her tears, saying he did not hate her. He agreed to be her guardian. He promised to be her guardian. She didn't want him to go away. She wanted him to be by her side always. She woke up. She saw Daniel there, standing. She wondered where he was. He was busy with Kyle playing a match in the gym. He even won the match against Kyle. She slept on his lap. She was 17 but soon she would be turning 18. She wondered how much longer she had to wait. Even he didn't have the answers to her questions. One morning, Olivia got sick, which gave her a lot of time to rest. She was feeling refreshed after being ill. One day, Giorgio de W. Esther showed up. He greeted Olivia, knowing that she was sick and that was the reason why she was skipping training classes that day. Giorgio was the second main lead character in the novel. He had blonde hair. He was a long-term cousin and friend of the main lead character. In the story, he gave up on his love just so the main lead could be with the female lead. But it wasn't from his side, rather, the female lead left him. He played the kind-hearted role by leaving her. He was also the reason why Olivia died. He would trap Olivia in the house of Versace, driving them to a corner. He was the one who killed Olivia. He saw that one guy behind her was holding her sword, so he asked if she was also into sword fighting. She was pissed that even though he could see a sword, he still asked a stupid question. She nodded. She was angry at him. He understood that in some way he had made her angry. If he knew, then why was he asking her? He bowed to her and apologized for his mistake. He said that he was only concerned about her ladyship's work and her well-being. She got even more pissed by this act of his. She asked him to step away as he was standing in her way. She was tired of her training session. Even though she was a noblewoman, normal society rules also applied to her. She was pulled down by many noblewomen. Many tried to manipulate her as well. She took off her gloves and threw them on the floor. The face she was making there was definitely going to make her into a villain no matter what. She froze when she realized it. He took her gloves and tried to give them back to her. But rather, Olivia took out her sword. She did that on purpose. He asked her if they were going to have a battle there. She was ready for battle. He asked if they were dropping the formalities. She didn't find any formalities in that wide area. He just laughed and apologized for blocking the wide corridor. The kid behind him was so scared. He allowed Olivia to pass through in a gentle way. She had a doubt if he was a villain as well. She went out of there in a rage. He was ready to have a battle next time and didn't say anything more. A few days passed. Someone knocked on the door. She wanted to talk about the royal delegations and suddenly noticed the blonde hair. It was him again. He was there as a representative of the crown prince. She, with sweat on her face, welcomed him. She had already met him, but she couldn't just yell at him in front of her father. As her father and Giorgio were talking about Olivia, Giorgio asked her father to include her as well in the discussion. Her father allowed her to sit down. She gently reminded them that the family of Versace was very clear about the crown prince's correspondence. They had gotten their reply, Giorgio said, and they were also ready to approve most of the requests, but still needed discussion. As he noticed that her ladyship's health was totally recovered, he wanted her to apply for the crown princess. He wasn't actually requesting but making her the weakest point of the house of Versace so he could execute his plans. She faked her health issues again. He mentioned their earlier encounter. She was still faking her health issues while he knew she was all good to go. He kept making her angry over and over, saying she looked fine to Giorgio. Giorgio didn't understand why she wanted to leave the opportunity to be crown princess when there were a number of people who applied for it. She stated that she only liked handsome men. Giorgio was stunned while her father knew she had a certain type in men. He said that the crown prince was very handsome and she did not need to worry about it. She still said because he was not her type. Giorgio thought she would fall for him at the first sight. Giorgio kept admiring his looks and his skills in sword fighting while she was pissed that if he liked him that much, why didn't he marry him? Still, she kept on with her words as she meant earlier that he was not her type. He thought maybe she would regret it later. She said if she became crown princess, then the person who would regret it would be Giorgio. Her father had enough of them arguing. He reminded him that the house of Versace was very faithful to the imperial palace, and he should be proceeding further. Giorgio again forced her father, reminding him that her age was perfect for marriage and she seemed to be very healthy. She again faked her cough so he could understand that she was not well. She did not want to cause any trouble for him if she rejected the crown prince as he was not her type. He admired her blackmailing techniques. She had enough of talking there, so she left the conversation. Giorgio stopped her and asked her if he could meet her before leaving. She totally refused his offer to meet him. She said she would be sick at that time. It was a month since Giorgio left the palace. Olivia was sitting under a tree, enjoying the day. Daisy reminded her that she had just finished her meal and should not lie down right after eating. Olivia was tired, but Daisy handed her a letter with her name on it. She wondered who it was from. It was from Giorgio, expressing concern about her health because spring was at its peak and she might catch a cold. He mentioned that he was waiting for her reply. Daisy asked if this was the same man they encountered months ago. Daisy found him a gentleman because he wrote a letter to Olivia. While Olivia knew his plans, she imagined that he was actually teasing her and knew she would use spring as an excuse to be sick. Daisy thought maybe Giorgio liked her. She hated him the most. No way that prick would like her. That Giorgio in the story would plot against everyone, including the female lead as well. Olivia took her pen, and Daisy wondered if she was writing a reply to him. She was trying to hold back her anger while writing her reply to him. She thanked him and mentioned that she was as sick as ever, also noting that she didn't like writing. She mentioned that he might be feeling lonely without the crown prince's companionship, so she asked him to reply from time to time. With that, she had enough. But rumors spread. Maids were spreading rumors that she was in a relationship with Giorgio. The same rumors were also mentioned in the novel. When Giorgio saw her for the first time, he fell in love with her. He wanted to see her every day, but due to her family, he killed his greedy wish. He did try to convince Viscount but failed and was sent back to Demire. Even though he went far, he kept sending her letters day by day. He was so in love with Olivia that he used to read her past letters. He was about to get sword fighting training again as a lady knight told him that a weak man has no reputation. He wanted her to reply. Giorgio was concerned about her health. So many letters came from Giorgio to her. She thought maybe she should squash him. Sir Kyle saw those letters and wondered how he would impress Olivia through these letters. Daisy told him this is the exact reason why he is single yet. Kyle thought that Daisy was single too, but her dating life was going great. They were shocked. Kyle had no idea that Daisy was actually dating someone. Even Olivia didn't know that Daisy was in a relationship. She kicked her brother out and thought to figure it out on her own. She felt disappointed because she used to share everything with Daisy, but Daisy kept her secret from her. Daisy wanted to know what she had said to Giorgio. She wanted to know more about the letters. She reminded her that Sir Giorgio and she were not in such a relationship. Daisy knew that Giorgio loved her a lot. Even if he did love her, it didn't mean that she loved him as well. She had no feelings for him. It was one-sided only to her. Daisy couldn't believe that she was not feeling anything even after knowing that he loved her a lot. She found it annoying rather than feeling anything. But she confessed about Daniel. Daisy was shocked. How could someone love a person as cold and stiff as him? Daisy wanted her to find someone better. She knew that Daniel's sister would react like this, so she expressed her feelings as examples towards him. She asked Daisy about her relationship and her mutual feelings with Daisy's partner. Daisy went silent. Daisy revealed that it was one-sided. Olivia understood it as well. At the Sumhel Academy, Renato was studying. He's the crown prince and Giorgio's cousin as well. Giorgio was laughing loudly. Renato noticed Giorgio was so loud and asked him to be quiet at least. He wanted to read something. While Giorgio was holding the glove Olivia had thrown on the ground at their first meeting, Renato didn't understand why he was holding women's gloves. Giorgio told him that was hard evidence that her ladyship maybe liked his type of guy. Renato noticed that ever since he came back from Hirsch, he was acting a bit weird. He was about to call for a doctor for him. Giorgio knocked off the conversation, saying Renato wouldn't understand as he was not her type. Renato threw a book at Giorgio and told him to get out of there. In the garden, Olivia and Daniel were walking together. Olivia may have explained the situation and rumors spreading around. She asked him how he would feel about being confessed to by someone. For him, it depended on the person who confessed the feelings. She asked if it was the person for whom he had no feelings. He stopped there. He was clear with his answer, being uncomfortable. She thought about what could have happened to him in the past. According to him, it's an act of expressing feelings without considering the other person. She again insisted on asking if the person couldn't hold back. She may have not asked for it. He said if he had no feelings, he wouldn't even give a person a chance to express it. That's what he would do. She understood why Daniel never gave her a chance to express it. He always treated her formally and gave her more respect than others as his way of rejection. She was sad about that. But yet again, she tried to express her feelings. She confessed that when she was younger, she did try to confess her feelings to him. But it must have troubled him. But that's a different part now. He kept walking. He was treating her like she was some other species. He's a tough guy to get. She got another rejection from him. In the castle, everyone was working here and there while Kyle asked Daniel about Daisy being in a relationship. He didn't know, but she was popular among guys as always. Kyle was shocked to hear this. Daniel wasn't concerned about Kyle and Daisy, but rather, ever since he and Lady Olivia came back from Lake Bar, she was not the same as she was before. She was trying to avoid Daniel. He felt like maybe she didn't want to hear his confession. Or maybe she liked Lord Giorgio more, he thought. At Daniel's house, Daisy was putting some flowers out when she saw Daniel there early that day. She told him to come back in more comfortable clothes as dinner was being prepared. At the dinner table, Daniel wanted to ask something to Daisy. With hesitation, he asked if Lord Giorgio was still writing letters to Lady Olivia. She said he was still writing because he's sweet. Daniel went numb. With anger in his eyes, Daniel said he might be a player and more like a weakling. Definitely. He's not Olivia's type. For Daisy, he was not a player as he was continuously writing letters to Olivia for 5 months. She admired his thoughts and his handwriting. According to Daniel, a letter is just a letter, it's not that hard to write. He paused when Daisy said Olivia was replying to him as she received his letters. According to Daisy, it felt like Olivia was more interested in him. Daniel didn't feel good about her replying to his letters. Maybe she was embarrassed, which is why she didn't show them to Daisy. Also, she was at the age to fall in love with someone. In the castle, the maids were having chit-chats while Olivia was in the bushes, watching them talking to other maids and neglecting her. At first, she wanted Daisy to confess her feelings, but after talking with Daniel, she needed to find another way. She wanted to find the guy Daisy was in love with. While walking through the hallway, she didn't understand why Daisy didn't go and confess to him. She wanted to find the guy faster. She was exhausted. She was trying to recall the story but failed again and again. In the novel story, people who had reborn could protect themselves from threats in the future. They could prevent it before it even happens. All she knew was that Olivia was unapproachable and had a dense personality. She was too perfect for the villain character. In the future, Olivia would surely harass the female lead due to being manipulated by the mastermind. The mastermind plays with her mind. In the future, when the mastermind shares some information with Olivia, Olivia kidnaps the female lead and causes big issues. The male lead comes to save the female lead. They end up together just because of Olivia, as she was the reason he came to save her. She compared Olivia to a speck of dust. She had no more story, so her surrounding characters weren't actually directed as well. Daisy was there with Olivia. She asked what Olivia was thinking. She didn't want to tell her that her life doesn't matter much and that Daisy does not know anything about her as well. but she doesn't have to do anything. Even without her, the story will keep moving and people would come to take a villain role after her as well. Daisy was doing embroidery. Olivia appreciated her skills in embroidery. She felt shy and called it a learning phase. But when Daisy looked at Olivia's embroidery, she found it cute that she made a bunny. But Olivia reminded her that it was a rose, not a bunny. Just to tease her, Daisy said Olivia loved embroidery, but it wasn't love after all, at least from her side. It was a tradition that gifting a handkerchief is both a way of expressing feelings of love and a token for returning home from the battlefield. Her embroidery was not good, so she thought to give it to Kyle or her father. Olivia asked Daisy if she was also doing embroidery to give it to her significant person. She said no, feeling that her embroidery was not good enough, so she wouldn't gift him. Olivia didn't understand why she doesn't give it. Her workmanship was famous all over the north. For Daisy, her embroidery would make her father and brother happy even if it's not good. But if her man can't even recognize sincerity, then he's the dumbest. She guessed that he was a knight. That's why Daisy was making a shield. Daisy was surprised how she guessed it right. Daisy made a symbol of the red knight, the falcon shield. But Daisy meant it to protect. She was giving it to her brother Daniel. Olivia found out that he was part of the Red Knight because Daisy wouldn't be blushing if she was actually giving that gift to her brother. But what if she's actually giving that gift to Daniel? Maybe Olivia should not gift anything to Daniel in this lifetime, she thought. She was crying inside because the beauty of Daisy's embroidery and hers were so different. It was a dark night and Olivia was still practicing with her sword. She struck a blow to the dummy while her father and Kyle watched her from afar. Her father showed a feeling of concern for everything happening in her life recently. She would be going to Manhwa Academy after the conquest ended. Kyle said it would be good if she learned something before going there. She kept swinging her sword, cutting all the dummies. Kyle started clapping for her efforts, saying that's his sister and her skills are impressive. Kyle took his sword and pointed it towards Olivia, saying she needed to push herself harder because he was not going to be easy on her. She found that he was acting a bit different at the moment. Kyle ran towards Olivia with his sword, but Olivia managed to stop the attack. Their father grew more anxious about Kyle and her. They were fighting each other and Kyle was suddenly so fast. She understood that while teaching, he was easy with her, but now things were different. As they faced each other, she struck a blow which Kyle couldn't see, leaving an opening for Olivia. She attacked him and threw his sword away into the air. Suddenly, Olivia's sword got energized. She didn't understand what was happening with her sword. All three of them walked down and stood in front of a big door. It was like a big storeroom under the castle. Father opened the door. It was a big room with large space. She never knew they had such a place in the basement. He gave her a ring. That ring was a weapon passed down the family for years. She could wear it on any finger. It was a perfect fit for her. She kept looking at it. Kyle told her that the weapon was only given to those chosen by Aura. The ring had chosen her. She didn't know how that ring was a weapon. She thought with the ring she could fight anyone. Kyle told her that she needed to infuse the aura with the ring and think about a weapon, and it would create it. She was confident about surviving as her chances were now more than before. Her father called her and told her to infuse the aura with a falcon image engraved there. She asked if it was the thing usually hung around the house, but her father reminded her that, unlike other families, the house of Versace had secrets passed down to the children with aura. That was the reason why nobody had ever had any disputes about it. Or she could say it was all about being competent with the ring. She touched the book and chain engraved from inside. It was a simple task. The book opened, and it was written that the one who had gotten aura might remember their story. After the 20 years of conquest ended, Camahil I proclaimed the title of king. He was the person who established Dekaran as an empire. It involved the east side leader Duke of Sabine, from the west Duke of Krashen, the independent Duke of the South, and the Countess of House Versace who later became the leader of the North. In the 12 years of war, Patricia Versace was the hero known as the Red Falcon. As the war kept going, the Red Falcon symbol became a sign of hope. Instead of looking to God, knights looked for the Red Falcon. But after the war ended, nobles objected to the title on Patricia due to her origin and gender. The imperial family limited the Versace's military power control. She set qualifications criteria to graduate from Manhwa Academy and get the nobility title. With that, the successor of House Versace became part of the capital. The successors who went to the capital assimilated with the culture of nobles and became shy of their homeland. They were leaving west and east to get married. Those who couldn't were eliminated. The only ones left in the north were Red Falcon members. After 2 years, Patricia got the title in the state. But they would only grant it if she married a man of equal or higher status. So under the condition, she had no other option but to marry Camahil I. Olivia was holding the book. She found it complete garbage and said so in anger. She hated the emperor. She risked her life to win the battle, and it was not fair that she was not a queen, but rather a royal concubine of all things. She slammed her hand on the bench out of anger. She was furious and called the emperor crazy. Her rage towards the emperor was increasing. Kyle had no expectations from the people in the imperial family of the Deccaran Empire, but his mother wasn't like that. His mother belonged to the Argona kingdom, so they can't even compare. She was beautiful. It wasn't his mother but his grandma who belonged to the Argona family, and her mother took the last name of Deccarans. Her father told him that Deccarans are the imperial family. Kyle was confused as well, while Olivia found her as stupid as always. But her father asked her to keep reading it. The more she read, the angrier she got. It was all frustrating to read. Kyle told her that Lady Patricia wouldn't give up easily, she should keep reading it. She found it quite accurate since Patricia wasn't the kind of lady who would give up easily. Patricia went to see Camahel to produce 3 promises. She placed her promises as the title of the Count of the Frontier, the right to the Imperial Guardian Sword, and last was the Blood Oath. These 3 were the promises she produced for him. Her title of the Count of the Frontier would make her as equal as the Supreme Commander of the border during emergencies. In return, she promised to protect the border and imperial family with military power. The right to the Imperial Guardian Sword was a pledge of military obligation to the crown. If any treason or emergency occurred in the state, the Versace family would march into the capital to protect the emperor. Lastly, the Blood Oath ensured that the imperial family would not interfere with the Versace family's affairs and marriage. She kept reading. She asked if it was a good thing that she obligated those rights because the role of the Count of the Frontier is to protect the imperial family. She asked if that was the obligation. Her father replied that it was, but why did she ask? Once the House of Versace was appointed as the military commander in charge, no one other than the House of Versace could interfere with military affairs. Patricia was given military authorities that no one could touch. Olivia didn't understand why she made things complicated. She wondered if it was really a good thing to be appointed to protect the emperor. It was helpful. It helped them lead their military into the imperial palace. It showed that the emperor placed his whole trust in the Versace family. Now Olivia understood why she made everything complicated, as she was smart. She knew that once they gained their trust, the emperor's successor would have no choice but to protect and follow suit with the House of Versace. Her father pointed to the paper and said they had to keep this in mind. While they were obligated to protect the imperial family, no matter what happened, they should not trust the imperial family. Reynardo was still reading in his academy when he heard footsteps. Giorgio came in, breathing heavily. Reynardo got annoyed by his presence again. He asked what happened. Maybe Olivia had finally replied to his letters. Giorgio came and collapsed. Giorgio reminded him that the last letter he received from her mentioned that she was cold and sick, and since then, she hadn't sent any letters to him. Giorgio was overreacting to her old letters. He was asking if he could do something since she stopped replying, thinking she must be very ill. Reynardo was getting more pissed by his weird behavior. Reynardo had enough and told him to calm down. Previously, he sent a letter and got a reply that she was sick. It was just 1 sentence. Reynardo asked how many letters he had sent since then. It was 3 letters he had sent by then. Her reply to all those letters was that she was cold and sick as ever. Reynardo was surprised that Giorgio had memorized her letters. Reynardo said she was just replying to him in a formal way as the first letter was sent. But since she didn't send any more letters, it was clear she had no interest in Giorgio. Giorgio, with attitude, told Reynardo that he might be saying those words because he didn't know her. She didn't usually say thanks around, and she wouldn't write a letter out of formality if she didn't like someone. Reynardo had enough. He didn't understand what in that letter got him so touched. Reynardo told him to acknowledge that a letter is a common thing. How could she be so rude not to reply to a letter after all? It's not like she doesn't even have common sense. Giorgio thought it was all her charm that she did it on her own. Reynardo asked what made him fall for her so hard that he couldn't even take her words straight. Giorgio was so in love he couldn't take his eyes off her and admired her beauty. Reynardo threw a book at Giorgio and told him not to come into the palace. Here in the House of Versace, Kyle asked if she had found anything after reading that. Maybe in the end, they all lived. It was not what Kyle asked her about. Anywhere beyond the north is harmful for them. Well, she was right about living, but not too right as well. Kyle found it so frustrating to be playing with words and asked her directly if Grandma reminded her of anyone. Olivia didn't like that Kyle was calling her Grandma. They were talking about their founder, but she thought for a second and wondered who Patricia could be. She understood that it could be her. Kyle told her that when he read, he immediately thought of her. Blood does not lie. Patricia was Olivia according to their father and brother. At night, she was about to go to sleep, but Patricia's thoughts were running through her mind. Olivia found her cool and thought maybe in a different story Patricia was the main character. But it was all pre-planned for Olivia to be killed by Giorgio in the future. She was fascinated by the family secret of House Versace. Things were different when she read the novel first. She was scared seeing the details of the story. Before reading the novel, she only thought of that world as a movie set. But people were actually living beyond her expectations. In that world, everyone had their past stories involved as well. For the first time ever, she found that she wasn't just inside a book. The ring could even manifest anything she thought about. It was a perfect gift for the protagonist, but she got it anyway. She had no idea why this was not mentioned in the book earlier. When something like this happens, a godlike figure always comes and explains everything to her. But maybe she was having them in dreams and she forgot about it. Her motto was to live slow and die old rather than being killed earlier. She wanted to build a house on top of the green prairie after getting money from her brother. With a handsome man as always, she thought of Daniel. Meanwhile, her father and brother were worried about her. Before Olivia leaves for Somehow Academy, they wanted to share something with her. It was not a safe place for Olivia after all. Kyle was concerned about her. Olivia was standing at the window. She wanted to ask something to Oscar, but he said he was a bit busy at that time. She asked if she told him she liked him, what would be his reaction. Oscar went silent, straight with no words, looking at her. He thought he had done something to displease her with a sacred face. She understood he hated it so much, with an angered face on her. She asked how he would reject someone. Oscar understood what Lady Olivia was thinking at the moment. He thought maybe Sir Daniel wanted to avoid her, and that was the reason he was going to the frontier. He was as quick as she thought he would be. Oscar said to ask the man himself, as he and Daniel had different tastes, and didn't feel the same way either. He was right about everything, and Olivia agreed upon this. She knew that one day he would make a name for himself, which led her to her next point. She wanted to open Le Deportia head office in Demire. She kept saying that she wanted to open another factory in the east. She wanted to launch Le Debon stories there and wanted 2 more acquisitions from the Northeast District. Oscar was shocked, sweating all over his body. He asked her if she came up with all this just because she didn't like what he said. But she liked his answer and came up with a brilliant idea. He, in a kidding way, said he had no choice but to marry her, also adding he doesn't look for any personality in a girl. To tease him, she said maybe she should open a branch in the West as well. He understood more work would be given, so he said it was all a joke. Besides, Oscar thinks Sir Daniel also likes her a lot, so why was she so worried? She wondered if he liked her a lot, then why hadn't he contacted her in 3 months yet? The conversation she had with Daniel left a mark on her feelings. She made the mistake of spending more time in the training field to give him space, and then after he was relieved of his guard duty, he went to the Red Knight. He stayed there for 3 straight months while she was in the castle doing her practices. She didn't even give him a chance to confess to her, and all that time not even once did he try to reach her. They were meeting every day before for 2 years, but now there was distance between them. He asked her why she didn't reach out to him directly. Well, she was busy with a lot of work, she said. Oscar was shocked at what kind of work she was talking about. She couldn't do anything about it, as if he could understand what it means to be considerate of someone. Someone has to see for themselves. Oscar didn't understand what he should do. At the Versace Castle Knights training ground, that day was the day Knights would proceed to head out for battle and kill the monster. The Red Falcon was divided into 5 military battalions. 2 of them would head to the border, and the remaining would be battling the monsters in the forests. The campaign involved her father, Kyle, and Daniel. Everyone was out there to wish the Knights good luck. Daniel noticed that Olivia was looking at him. She got flinched too when he saw her back. He was looking great. She looked away, overreacting, praying to God not to get a heart attack. Her father raised his hand and said, "Via." She ran to her father and gave him the embroidered handkerchief she made. He hugged his daughter before leaving for battle. Kyle took the other handkerchief and started saying it was for him. She made a baby chick on the handkerchief for him, which looked like a total mess. She took it from him. He asked for it as she gave it to him. Daisy also gave a handkerchief to her brother as well. He looked at the handkerchief and thought he would receive one this time at least. Lady Olivia called for Daniel. He looked at her. She was standing there with hope in her eyes. He asked how she was doing. She was as always, she replied. It became an awkward moment there. She wished him good luck on his journey and a safe return. He looked again at the handkerchief. He took a bow and got on going. He was putting more distance again, as always cold-blooded. Drums started, flags raised, and knights were leaving for the battle. The gates were opened for them. Knights on horseback were walking out of the palace and started riding faster. Olivia and Daisy were watching them leave the palace. In the evening, at Renardo's study room, he was working. He was tired of doing all the work. The butler asked him if he wanted him to make tea for him. He asked for 2 teas, one for Gerard as well, as he was burned out. Someone informed Renardo that Giorgio had arrived. With a big smile on his face, he came inside. Renardo was shocked. Giorgio's smiling was good, but he had a bad feeling behind that smile. Giorgio took out something from his pocket, a letter. It was a letter he had gotten. He opened the letter. After so long time, finally Giorgio got the letter. But I don't have a good feeling about it. What do you think will be written in this letter? We will see what's written in the letter in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching.